Let's talk about something many women experience after 40, but rarely feel comfortable admitting. You start noticing distance between yourself and certain friendships. Not because of a fight, not because something dramatic happened, just distance. Conversations feel different. The things you used to bond over don't hold the same energy. And sometimes you leave an interaction feeling quietly drained. That moment can feel very confusing, okay? Because nothing obvious went wrong, but something inside you has changed. For many women, friendships formed earlier in life were built around shared environments. So, school, work, parenting, neighborhoods, or maybe just simply being in the same phase of life. So you connected that way. And those friendships, they were real. They mattered. They carried you through certain chapters of your life. But as you grow, the foundation of those connections can begin to shift. Because friendships often form around who we were at the time, not necessarily who we are becoming. Sit with that for a second. Because most friendships don't end with conflicts. They slowly fade when versions of you that built the relationship begins to evolve. And that can feel confusing. Because that, and not just feel confusing, it can feel uncomfortable. Because many women were taught something really specific. That loyalty means staying connected no matter how much you change. And this doesn't just happen in friendships, it happens with family members too. Human relationships are strongly influenced by something psychologists called identity alignment. When two people share similar values, priorities, or emotional rhythms, connection feels natural. But when those internal patterns begin to shift, something subtle happens. The nervous system starts noticing the difference, the misalignment, so to speak. Conversations that once felt easy to begin with start to require effort. Topics that once felt meaningful begin to feel repetitive. And emotional dynamics that once felt normal begin to feel heavy. Your nervous system eventually stops interpreting certain environments as connection. Can you believe it? It starts interpreting them as misalignment. That's not rejection. That's awareness. See, sometimes your body internally recognizes that things are not aligned before your brain steps in and says, yeah, that's right. Many women after 40 begin noticing something surprising also, is that they don't want drama. They don't want conflict. They simply want peace. And once your nervous system starts prioritizing peace, certain relationships naturally lose their pull. This is where many people misunderstand what's happening. They think, I'm becoming distant. Or maybe I'm losing friends, right? But something else is occurring here. You're not losing people. You're outgrowing the role you once played in their life. Sometimes that role was the emotional fixer, the constant listener, the peacekeeper, the one who absorbed everyone else's stress. When you stop carrying that role, the relationship dynamic changes. There's something about growth, because growth changes your nervous system. As you mature emotionally, you become less tolerant of constant negativity. You might find that you start turning off the news. You have an aversion to gossip-based bonding, emotional chaos, one-sided support. Not because you're judging others, but because your nervous system is actively seeking stability. What once felt like connection may now feel like an energy depletion. And many women quietly notice this shift. They leave a conversation and they feel tired. Not because they dislike the person, but because the emotional rhythm no longer matches. We spoke before about reciprocity in relationships, right? There needs to be a match for reciprocity to happen. And that moment can bring guilt, but it can also bring clarity. Detachment doesn't always mean ending relationships. Sometimes it simply means changing proximity. Less frequent conversations, less emotional responsibility, and more space for yourself. And that shift is often part of emotional maturity. It's where you find peace. Not everyone is meant to travel with you through every stage of life. Some people walk with you through a chapter. Others stay for the entire story. Both can be meaningful. Doesn't mean one is better than the other. It just is. Let's make this practical, right? 3 shifts that help navigate this transition. Let's talk about that. There's a boundary shift. And the boundary shift just allows relationship to adjust naturally. Not every friendship requires a dramatic ending. Sometimes distance is simply a sign that your paths are evolving. There's the somatic reset. When guilt appears, pause. Notice where you feel it in your body and take a slow, deep breath and remind yourself, growth often changes relationships. This is normal. And journal And ask yourself honestly, what role did I play in this friendship? And is that role still aligned with who I am or who I'm becoming? That question can bring a lot of clarity and help take away some of the guilt that you might be feeling. Outgrowing certain dynamics is one of the quietest forms of transformation. It doesn't come with announcements. It simply shows up as a deeper preference for peace. And when your life begins aligning with who you've become, some relationships naturally shift. Not because anyone failed, but because evolution changes the shape of connection. You don't have to force anything. The right relationships adapt as you grow. Integration happens quietly. So I want you to keep weaving that dream. And before you go, I'm curious about something. Have you noticed certain friendships shifting as you've grown? What changed for you? Let me know in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one.